as CNEWA. We love our acronyms in the Catholic Church. CNEWA is a papal foundation, but it's based here in New York City at the offices of the Archdiocese, and we're lucky to have the Archbishop of New York, Cardinal Dolan, with us. CNEWA does critical work in supporting the Eastern Rite Catholic churches in Northeast Africa, India, and Eastern Europe, but especially in the Middle East, in places where poverty, war, and displacement shatter innocent lives. CNEWA's mission is Catholic, but its focus is universal. They help everyone in need. So we hope that if this conversation does nothing else, you will visit their website, cnewa.org. That's where their work right now is more vital than ever, as we shall see. Now, to guide us through this conversation, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Tom Gallagher. Tom is a longtime friend of Fordham CRC and a longtime Catholic journalist who has reported from the Middle East for National Catholic Reporter and other outlets, and he's come to know the people and the situation there very well. Tom, over to you.
Great. Thanks, David, and thanks to Fordham's Center on Religion and Culture for hosting this important conversation. We're glad to have His Eminence Cardinal Timothy Dolan, Archbishop of New York, with us. He's the chairman of to the Middle East on a frequent basis. In fact, I covered his trip to Iraqi Kurdistan in the spring of 2016, where he visited the displaced Christians and Yazidis. And he most recently was in Lebanon just over a year ago. So Cardinal Dolan will open up with some remarks and then introduce his good friend, his Beatitude, Cardinal Rai, who will then offer an opening statement both in English and French, and then we'll have question and answers. Cardinal Dolan.
Thank you very much, Tom. David, thank you, Fordham University. It's an honor to be with you. I'm especially grateful to have the chance to be here on behalf of the Catholic Near East Welfare Association, CNEWA. Thank you. And I am very joyful to be with my beloved and esteemed brother, His Beatitude, Cardinal Rai. He is a brother to me. He is a teacher. He is a model. And he is a leader who inspires not only Lebanon, but the world. Your Eminence, welcome. And we're glad you're here, and we are very eager to hear what you have to say. To all our listeners today, not only do I say welcome, but I say thank you for your interest in our beloved Lebanon. You know, Your Eminence, when we say Lebanon, people smile because we love your country. We love you. We love your people. We appreciate the beauty and the hope and the promise of Lebanon. But when we say Lebanon, we also sometimes cry because we know of the suffering and the war and just the peril that your country is constantly in. Only a week ago, Your Beatitude, thanks to our friend, our brother, Bishop Gregory Mansour, I participated in a wonderful prayer service over at the Cathedral of Our Lady of Lebanon. And we had representatives from all of the ancient Eastern and Orthodox religions that flourish in your country. And I had occasion to say there, quoting our beloved Pope St. John Paul II, that Lebanon is just not a geographic entity. It is not just a nation. It is a dream. It is a hope. It is a message. It is an experiment. And to the world, it has become a light to the world of hope and promise, but also we know darkness because of the terror and the war and the threats and the tragedy that you've just gone through. The recent deadly explosion, oh my, has brought disaster all over. We're ready here, Your Beatitude, tomorrow to commemorate September 11th. And you had your own. Thank God it was not a terrorist attack. You've had enough of those. But the destruction and the injury to your people. But this is only a reminder, and you have been characteristically eloquent, Cardinal Rai, in saying this is only a reminder of the turmoil and the corruption and the deep divisions that are in Lebanon. And the world needs to be aware of that. And there's been no more prophetic voice in yours, Your Eminence. Our listeners would know that Cardinal Rai is the Maronite patriarch. Lebanon is a beautiful laboratory of religious freedom and religious diversity and religious amity and cooperation at its best. And the voice that makes most sense there is Cardinal Rai. And I'm honored to be with you, Eminence. And may our company this morning just be a sign to you of our love and our solidarity and our prayer and our desire to help. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, David. Thanks to all of our listeners. I'm hoping Bishop Mansour is listening. I'm hoping Monsignor Vakati of CNEWA, because they are ready. We are already agents and deputies of Cardinal Rai in the words he has to say.
Thank you, Your Eminence.
In your beatitude, this would be a good moment to offer your speech in English and in French.
Thank you, Your Eminence. Thank you, dear friends. I'm very glad to address these few words to our friends in America. Lebanon, the last Christian foothold in the Middle East, multi-confessional and multi-religious, home for 18 Christian and Muslim confessional communities, living together equal in rights and duties, is the only democratic secular state in the Arab world. It is an example of unity and diversity. That Lebanon experiencing unprecedented economic, social, and financial problems, and is facing, as a result, an existential danger like never before in its history. That small country resisted for centuries against persecution and oppression by various foreign occupations, prospered and remained strong. But at the present time, due to decades of political and financial corruption, to the corona pandemic, and the latest explosion at the port of Beirut, is facing a real danger of disintegration due to the fast economic deterioration and the social political crisis. The middle classes, the backbone of the population and the bedrock of a flourishing nation, are slipping sharply into poverty. More than half of the Lebanese population now lives below the poverty line. As the purchasing power of Lebanese currency has decreased by about 80%. In addition to all of our internal problems, the presence of more than 500,000 Palestinian refugees and 1,500,000 Syrian displaced have overburdened our infrastructure and taxed further the alien economy of a country of 10,452 kilometers square and 4 million inhabitants. Lebanon finds itself in a more critical situation, still as it witnesses the immigration of a number of its workforce seeking a future elsewhere. The weakening of the Christian community in Lebanon would be a huge loss for the country, the Middle East, and indeed the world. The many churches in Lebanon, especially since the 18th century, and despite the difficulties and challenges, have invested greatly in projects of development, in schools, universities, various educational institutions, and in hospitals and various social and mental health facilities. All these institutions have created and nourished a vibrant culture of openness, freedom, and democracy. That is why Lebanon has been considered as the university, the hospital, and the bank of the modern Middle East. Today, I would like to urge all our friends, all those who believe in the importance of a culture of freedom, moderation, diversity, and interreligious co-living, not to forget Lebanon at this time of great need, as it faces the worst existential crisis in its history. King Faisal of Saudi Arabia once said, "Had we not have that country of Lebanon, we would have needed to invent it." I wish to address in particular the millions of Lebanese in the expansion, and indeed all friends of Lebanon and the free world. Please, don't let Lebanon fall into despair. Help us to restore it once again to that vibrant and flourishing religious, political, and cultural model in the Middle East, so that Lebanon may be able to play its role and fulfill its own mission. Thank you so much. Chers amis, le Liban, le dernier bastion chrétien en Moyen-Orient, multiconfessionnel et multireligieux, où 18 communautés chrétiennes et musulmanes vivent ensemble en égalité de droits et d'obligations, est le seul État démocratique et séculier dans le monde arabe. C'est un exemple de liberté et d'unité dans sa diversité. Ce Liban passe par des problèmes économiques, sociaux et financiers, le plus grave de son histoire. Il est exposé à un danger existentiel sans précédent. Durant des siècles, ce petit pays a fait face aux persécutions et à l'oppression de multiples occupants étrangers, tout en demeurant fort et prospère. Mais actuellement, des dizaines d'années de corruption financière et politique, la pandémie Covid-19 et pour comble l'explosion du port de Beyrouth l'ont exposé à un danger réel de désintégration. À cause de la détérioration accélérée de l'économie et des crises sociopolitiques, la classe moyenne, qui comprenait la majorité de la population et qui formait la base solide de la prospérité, est en train de virer rapidement vers la pauvreté. Plus que la moitié de la population libanaise se trouve actuellement sous la ligne de pauvreté et le pouvoir d'achat de la monnaie nationale a perdu environ 80% de sa valeur. En plus de nos problèmes internes, la présence d'un demi-million de réfugiés palestiniens et d'1,5 million de déplacés syriens surcharge l'économie et l'infrastructure et impose un fardeau encore plus lourd à une économie déjà en faillite dans ce petit pays de 10 452 km² et de 4 millions d'habitants. Le Liban se trouve dans une situation d'autant plus critique, voyant un bon nombre de ses forces vives le quitter pour faire leur avenir ailleurs. L'affaiblissement de la communauté chrétienne au Liban constituerait une perte pour le pays, pour le Moyen-Orient et même pour l'humanité. Les nombreuses églises du Liban, surtout depuis le XVIIIe siècle, et malgré les obstacles et les difficultés, ont investi énormément dans des projets de développement et dans la fondation d'écoles, d'universités, d'hôpitaux et de diverses institutions sociales. Toutes ces institutions ont développé une culture de liberté, d'ouverture et de démocratie. C'est pourquoi le Liban fut considéré comme l'université, l'hôpital et la banque du Moyen-Orient. Aujourd'hui, je voudrais insister auprès de nos amis et tous ceux qui apprécient l'importance de la culture, de liberté et de modération, et qui croient en la diversité, le dialogue interreligieux et le vivre ensemble, de ne pas oublier le Liban dans ces moments difficiles où il fait face à une crise existentielle la plus dure de son histoire. Le roi saoudien Faisal avait dit un jour, si le Liban n'existait pas, il aurait fallu le créer. Je voudrais finalement m'adresser en particulier aux millions de Libanais et Libanaises qui vivent à l'étranger, aussi bien qu'aux amis du Liban, dans le monde, de ne pas laisser le Liban sombrer dans le désespoir. Aidez-nous à en faire de nouveau un pays modèle de coexistence religieuse et d'ouverture politique et culturelle dans cette région du Moyen-Orient, de manière que le Liban puisse jouer son rôle et s'acquitter de sa mission qui est propre. Je vous remercie.
Beatitude, that was a very sobering and compelling statement. So thank you. We now are about just over a month from the time of the explosion. What is the situation for the people in Beirut? What are their primary needs at this time?
In what language? Arabic or French? Arabic or French, do you prefer? Or Italian? Arabic or French for him? Arabic. اليوم أكبر حاجات اللبنانيين لأنه معظم اللبنانيين بدون عمل حاجاتهم مع الأسف كل شيء هو بيختص بالغذاء وبالدواء والمساعدات حتى يقدروا يعيشوا بحاجاتهم اليومية.
Unfortunately, because the Lebanese are out of work at the moment, their most important needs are material needs, food, drink, and everything else that they need in their day-to-day living.
And Beatitude, you oversee a network of church-affiliated agencies providing aid to the people of Lebanon. Can you describe what agencies are providing aid and how it's getting to the people?
في عدد كتير من الاجانس عم بيشتغلوا على الارض وبدك عم تشوف شو عم بيعملوا هي هن اللي اكثر شيء عم بيشتغلوا على مؤسسات كاليداج.
Nous avons créé en tant qu'Église au Liban une structure en collaboration avec tous les évêques, les diocèses, les ordres religieux, les institutions sociales, dont Pontifical Mission, Caritas Liban, la Croix-Rouge et d'autres. Nous avons créé une structure qui couvre tout le territoire libanais pour venir en aide à la population et pour coordonner les aides selon les capacités et les champs de chaque institution.
We in Lebanon have created a network of institutions that help, of which are CNEWA, Caritas, the Red Cross, and a number political mission, a number of others, but all those are coordinating their work together to make sure that the assistance does reach the people in need.
Notre motto était il faut qu'aucune famille meure de faim.
Well, our motto was no family should be in need of food or drink.
Your Beatitude, you have called for Lebanon to engage in active neutrality. Can you share what you mean by active neutrality and how that will develop peace and stability in Lebanon and in the region?
تحكي عن neutrality positive. كيف هيدا بدها تساعد لبنان؟
La neutralité positive que nous avons dit active le Liban pour 50 ans de sa vie, de 1920 à 1980, il était neutre. Et durant la période de la neutralité active, je veux dire qu'est-ce que cela veut dire? Il y avait la prospérité. Il n'y avait pas des gens qui avaient besoin. Moi, j'ai connu cette période. J'étais jeune dans les années 50 et 60, tellement qu'on appelait le Liban la Suisse de l'Orient, parce qu'il y avait la prospérité dans tous les camps et les champs.
During the first 50 years of the history of modern Lebanon, Lebanon was very prosperous. It was, of course, living in neutrality. It was very prosperous and prosperous to the extent where it was called the Switzerland of the Middle East. I witnessed that reality personally, and we remember very clearly the prosperity and the joy and very positive situation that people were experiencing in Lebanon during 50 years.
Alors, qu'est-ce que nous entendons par neutralité active? Il y a trois éléments essentiels. D'abord, que le Liban n'intervienne jamais dans des conflits et des guerres régionaux et internationaux. Un. Deuxièmement, le Liban a un rôle à jouer, comme a dit son éminence le cardinal, en répétant les paroles de Saint Jean-Paul II, que le Liban a un rôle plus qu'un pays. Il a une mission au Moyen-Orient. Il a sa mission, le dialogue, la rencontre, la réconciliation, question de la paix, les droits de l'homme. Troisième élément, c'est un État qui doit être fort, une seule armée, un État fort sur le plan de la justice, fort sur le plan de la loi, qu'il puisse vivre sa souveraineté à l'intérieur et se défendre contre toute attaque ou agression de n'importe quel pays. Voilà les trois éléments essentiels, ce que j'entends dire par neutralité active.
The three essential elements of active neutrality are first, that Lebanon should not intervene in conflicts outside the country. Secondly, Lebanon has a mission to fulfill. His Eminence mentioned the words of St. John Paul II, that Lebanon is more than a geographic entity. It's a message of conviviality, of dialogue, of tolerance, and so on. And the third element in this concept of positive neutrality is that Lebanon should be a strong country. It should be able to defend itself. It should be able to exercise justice and sovereignty over its whole territory.
Your Beatitude, is there a broader shift in the Middle East towards peace? For example, Israel and the United Arab Emirates just agreed to a peace accord, the Abraham Accord. Is there a sense of a desire for people to live peacefully together?
الإمارات وإسرائيل عم بيعملوا في إرادة إنه العالم يعيشوا مع بعضهم.
En 2012, la Ligue des Nations Arabes ont tenu une réunion à Beyrouth. Et ils ont eu une déclaration. Et c'est la déclaration de la paix. Comment créer la paix avec Israël et les pays arabes? Que doivent faire les pays arabes et que doit faire Israël pour que la paix retourne au Moyen-Orient? C'est en 2012. Donc, alors, c'est grâce à cette déclaration de Beyrouth, appelée déclaration de Beyrouth, qu'ils sont en train de construire la paix. Maintenant, entre le Liban et Israël, il y a un autre problème, mais nous tenons à la trêve de 48. Il y a eu la trêve. C'est pourquoi, en 67, le Liban n'a pas participé à la guerre contre Israël avec tous les pays arabes. Il a dit, je maintiens à la trêve de 48.
In 2002, the Arab League held a meeting in Lebanon, and they laid down the terms of possible peace between Israel and the totality of the Arab countries, not one at a time. So the Arabs are still holding on to the terms of that proposition made in 2002 in Lebanon. Now, what should be done for Lebanon? Lebanon holds on to the amnesty law, which was decided at the end of the first Palestinian-Arab war. And this is why Lebanon in 1967 did not enter the war, because Lebanon does still hold on to the first agreement made between Israel and Lebanon in 1967.
Maintenant, la question est différente. Après les événements qui ont eu lieu au Liban, que le pacte du Caire qui a permis aux Palestiniens au Liban de bombarder à partir du territoire libanais Israël, il y a eu l'invasion israélienne, l'occupation israélienne au Liban, il y a eu aussi les Syriens, il y a eu la création de différentes milices, et tout ça, ça nous a fait dans un état d'ennemi avec Israël. C'est le mot qu'on doit appeler ici. Quand on dit Israël, il faut dire ennemi. Bon, il y a tous ces problèmes, mais il y a eu des résolutions du Conseil de sécurité. Nous, ce que nous disons, chers amis, il faut que la communauté internationale applique toutes les résolutions du Conseil de sécurité concernant l'occupation israélienne et les milices existantes pour pouvoir trouver la voie à la paix. Nous désirons la paix. Nous sommes les gens de la paix. Nous, notre culture, c'est la paix. Ce n'est pas la guerre.
Of course, we in Lebanon, we have a special situation. First of all, we want peace. We don't want war. And in Lebanon, we kept to the armistice until 1969, when the Cairo Agreement was imposed on Lebanon, allowing the Palestinians to fight Israel through South Lebanon. Since then, Lebanon started decaying. Because it lost its neutrality, you see, go back to the neutrality. Now, what we want to ask is that the United Nations apply the resolutions that were, decided at the Security Council, and that's the international frame of work that we would like to see the conflict of the Middle East resolved in accordance with.
C'est pourquoi, je termine, c'est pourquoi la neutralité active, le premier élément, demande qu'on applique toutes les résolutions du Conseil de sécurité, pour commencer. Et comme ça, le Liban ne pourra pas participer à des conflits, à des guerres, ni régionales, ni internationales.
So this is why, to go back to the neutrality, we want the resolutions to be applied. That way, nobody could accuse us of violating the international law. If the resolutions are applied, then Lebanon automatically falls into this framework of neutrality and does not allow anybody to attack Israel from its territory.
Your Beatitude, there are voices in the U.S. critical of Pope Francis's outreach to Muslims. And in fact, you and I both attended the ceremony in Abu Dhabi in February 2019, in which Pope Francis and the Grand Imam in Egypt, Dr. Al-Taib, signed the document on human fraternity. Why is it important for Christians to be in dialogue with Muslims and to be in friendship with Muslims?
Nous, au Liban, il y a le dialogue et la vie ensemble entre chrétiens et musulmans qui est comment dire, formé, constitué, réglementé par la Constitution et le pacte national. Le Liban est fondé sur ce dialogue interreligieux, dans sa nature et dans sa identité.
Now, Lebanon, by its constitution, is founded on this dialogue. Lebanon is made up of Christians and Muslims. Their relations are regulated in the constitution. Who takes what, how the power and the management of the country is divided. And for us, dialogue between Christians and Muslims is the backbone of the existence of Lebanon.
La déclaration signée par le pape et Cheikh El-Azhar est vécue au Liban littéralement.
So that declaration was already in existence in Lebanon. We were applying that resolution before it was ever, or that declaration before it was ever made.
C'est pourquoi le pape Jean-Paul II avait dit que le Liban représente une garantie pour les chrétiens du Moyen-Orient.
This is why Jean-Paul II said that Lebanon is a guarantee. You know, the style Lebanon is adopting is the style that will ensure coexistence and co-living in the Middle East.
Les chrétiens du monde arabe ont bien accueilli la déclaration parce qu'ils désirent cette égalité qui n'existe pas. Ils désirent vivre en bon citoyen, pas en seconde classe, mais en première classe comme tous les autres citoyens. Mais que voulez-vous, tous les régimes politiques arabes, ce sont des régimes uniformes. Religion de l'État et l'islam, le Coran et la source de la législation, le pouvoir politique, judiciaire est en train des musulmans, dans les mains des musulmans. C'est pourquoi pour les chrétiens du Moyen-Orient, c'est une respiration, cette déclaration de Abu Dhabi.
The Christians of the Middle East have all supported that declaration. because for them, that's the only way they could survive in their environment. We have to realize that in all the Arab countries, we have Islam as the religion of the state. Those are countries who take nobody else into consideration except the Muslims who are living in those countries. So dialogue is vital, because they're not, the Christians in the other countries are not even given a chance to state their opinion, and there's no such a thing as a freedom of conscience. If a Christian wants to become a Muslim, fine, but if a Muslim wants to become a Christian, he's liable to be killed.
To conclude this question, I say, la responsabilité des Libanais, chrétiens et musulmans, est grande. Il faut que les Libanais, chrétiens et musulmans, maintiennent ce rôle et cette mission. Il faut absolument le garder. Alors, il faut que les chrétiens restent toujours forts au Liban pour pouvoir sauver cette convivialité et assurer au monde arabe, aux chrétiens du monde arabe, cet espoir. Ce sont les mots du pape Jean-Paul II.
Now, this is why the Lebanese formula is so important. In Lebanon, Christians and Muslims live together in equality under the constitution, and we want to maintain this for the sake of the Arab world, for the sake of the Christians in the whole of the Arab world, because they say if the Christians of Lebanon are what they are trying to be, that is living on equal basis with the Muslims, then we have some hope. This is why Lebanon should remain strong, and when it is strong, it can maintain that balance, and it can give hope to the Christians all over the Middle East.
There are members in the audience who ask the question, Your Beatitude, how can we in the U.S. understand the deep-seated corruption in the government that's occurred for years?
كيف
بيفهموها بأمريكا الأمريكان؟
Les Américains ont compris bien la corruption au Liban. Ils la connaissent à travers les responsables, à travers les visites, et personne n'ignore, nul n'ignore la corruption existante dans le gouvernement. Malheureusement, nous la dénonçons toujours dans nos discours, dans nos homélies, dans nos rencontres. Ça, c'est connu partout, malheureusement. À travers les mass media, parce que tous les mass media parlent de la corruption. C'est une honte pour nous, Libanais, pas pour le peuple libanais. C'est une honte pour les responsables politiques libanais. Tout le monde le sait à travers les mass media.
The American people who come to Lebanon, and especially the politicians and the embassy and all those people, know very well the situation and know how rampant is the corruption. As for the American people, how to understand it, they simply have to follow the media. If the Americans do follow outside media, I know the Americans are mostly taken up with internal questions.
The Cardinal Dolan mentioned that tomorrow we will recognize the anniversary of the 9/11 attacks in New York, the World Trade Center in Pennsylvania, and Washington, D.C. Those attacks set the stage for the U.S. invasion of Iraq, which Pope John Paul II was very much against. Are there repercussions from the invasion in Iraq affecting Lebanon and the region to this day?
Sûrement, cette guerre contre l'Irak nous a détruits à nous tous. À commencer en Irak, la population était 1,5 million. Ils ont perdu Ils ont perdu 1 million de chrétiens.
As far as the Christians are concerned, the war on Iraq has destroyed Christianity in the region. 1.5 million Christians lived in Iraq before the invasion. 1 million were displaced.
Ensuite, il y a eu la question de Daesh et la question de la guerre en Syrie. Et nous, au Liban, nous avons subi et nous subissons toutes les conséquences. Pas seulement parce que nous avons des déplacés qui viennent chez nous, ils sont les bienvenus, mais que notre route au monde arabe passe par la Syrie. Alors, nous ne pouvons plus envoyer et faire transmettre les produits libanais aux pays arabes parce que tout passe par la Syrie. Donc, nous sommes coupés de la Jordanie, de l'Irak et des pays du Golfe. Nous subissons cette guerre sur le plan économique.
Now, after the Iraqi war, then we had the Syrian war, we had Daesh, and those conflicts have had a very negative backlash on Lebanon, and all our goods that are exported towards the Arab world, the Gulf and so on, are exported through Syria. So we could no more pass through Syria because of the conflict. And as a result, our economy suffered greatly. Now, Daesh was made up of the disbanded army of Saddam Hussein, mainly. So the army that the American invasion disbanded, grouped again into what became Daesh, and those people, the havoc they worked in the region.
Le plan des chrétiens, nous avons perdu beaucoup de chrétiens, pas seulement en Irak, mais aussi en Syrie. Et alors, ils ont émigré. Il y a un bon nombre au Liban, d'autres ont émigré. Et c'est une grande perte pour les pays du Moyen-Orient, déjà en Terre Sainte, maintenant en Irak, en Syrie. Alors, ce manque de présence des chrétiens, cela veut dire la culture chrétienne, les valeurs chrétiennes viennent à manquer dans ces sociétés musulmanes, malheureusement.
Those conflicts have contributed greatly to the diminution of the Christian presence in those countries. As a result, of course, the Christian culture cannot any longer have any impact on those societies, and that's a loss for everybody.
Nous avions des écoles, nous avions des universités, nous avions des institutions sociales. Malheureusement, non. Il y a maintenant, les évêques restent, les prêtres restent, les religieuses restent, mais nos institutions sont devenues très faibles dans ce monde arabe, malheureusement. C'est pourquoi le Liban représente pour eux tous l'espoir unique. Ils voient toujours leur espoir dans ce Liban.
Before the war in Iraq and Syria and so on, the Christians had their institutions. They had their schools, their universities, their hospitals. Now it's all gone. The priests are still there, some of them, the bishops, and a very small minority of Christians are still there, but the institutions have disappeared, which means the impact that Christianity was having on the society has disintegrated. This is why they are so keen on, and we are so keen on, keeping Lebanon, as a strong country with a strong Christian presence, and that Christian presence of Lebanon keeps giving hope to the Christians of the Middle East at large.
Last month, the government stepped down. A new prime minister has been appointed, Mustafa Adib. you've called for an interim government to have sufficient power to enact reforms. What does Prime Minister Adib and this interim government have to do to win back the trust of the people of Lebanon and of the international community?
شو لازم يعمل أديب هلا حتى يرجع
Le peuple libanais, la révolution des jeunes que nous soutenons, nous demandons au Premier ministre nommé de changer la manière de la formation du gouvernement. C'est-à-dire, ce n'est plus une participation entre les groupes parlementaires. Alors on distribue les places des ministres. Nous voulons des ministres qui ne dépendent d'aucun parti politique, des ministres libres, des ministres capables, des ministres technocrates, qu'ils puissent eux-mêmes, sans autre référence, décider dans le ministère, dans le gouvernement, ce qui est bon et bien pour le pays.
What the uprising has demanded, and we support that popular uprising, especially the young people, is for the political class to move out of the political scene. What we are asking the Prime Minister designate to do is to make sure to choose ministers that do not fall under the grip of the various political parties. He should not, as a Prime Minister designate, accept that the power should be divided among all those people, because we would be back to square one and we would have the same old corrupt caste direct the country by proxy through those ministers. We want ministers independent, intelligent, technocrats who can run this country in a different style.
Ceci demande un nombre réduit de ministres dans le gouvernement. Pas 22, 24, 20, 30, nous n'en avons pas besoin. Je pense qu'en Amérique, vous avez 15 ministres, n'est-ce pas? Vous avez 15. Alors qu'au Liban, ils veulent 24. Pourquoi 24 sur 4 millions d'habitants? Nous demandons un nombre très réduit de ministres pour éviter cette participation politique.
We are asking the Prime Minister designate to form a small government. That way, that small group could work together better and could make a difference and would not have to keep, following the old style of having 20 or 30 ministers for a country of 4 million, while in the US you have 15 ministers for this huge country of yours.
En un mot, nous demandons un gouvernement d'urgence.
We want a government of crisis.
Yes, I have just one more question, and then I would ask Cardinal Dolan for some concluding remarks before David Gibson wraps up our visit today. Many consider you, your beatitude, to be the spiritual father of Lebanon. In the midst of these many crises, the economic, the coronavirus pandemic, the explosion, the failed government, how do you see your role in these difficult days?
Daiman, toujours, le patriarche maronite, étant donné les données historiques, est toujours une référence nationale.
The Maronite Patriarch historically has always been a national reference, not only a Maronite reference.
Les politiciens libanais et l'opinion publique libanaise et les ambassadeurs de différents États attendent l'homélie du dimanche pour savoir ce que dit le patriarche maronite et attendent le premier mercredi du mois pour attendre le communiqué des évêques qui se réunissent tout le premier mercredi du mois. Comme référence,
the Lebanese politicians, as well as diplomatic corps in the country, await the sermon of the patriarch on Sunday to see what direction the church wants the country to go through. And they await the communique of the bishops who meet every first Wednesday of the month and issue a communique that is both has elements of politics and religion and the state of the country at large. So the church, the bishops as a body, and the patriarch as a head of the synod remain a very important reference, political and social and religious in the country.
il y a toujours un écho de ce que dit le patriarche le dimanche ou dans d'autres occasions. Il y a l'écho populaire et ceci est important. Les politiciens entendent, parfois, oui, ils agissent ou réagissent, mais c'est le peuple qui accepte et c'est important. Nous créons l'opinion publique.
What is important in the sermon of the patriarch and the communique of the first Wednesday of the month is that the people await, to hear what the patriarch wants and what the bishops want. And this creates a public opinion, a popular opinion. The church does not seek anything. The patriarch is free, the bishops are free, and they say the truth as they see it. And they don't have to either, look behind their back and see who's waiting to hear them, except their own people, They're not looking for anything. This is why their word is heard and appreciated.
J'ai reçu un groupe de cheikhs, c'était des religieux sunnites, chiites et druzes, pour dire que nous suivons toutes les homilies que vous dites et que nous venons vous dire que nous sommes avec la neutralité active. Vous pouvez compter sur l'opinion publique sunnite, chiite et druze.
This morning, I received a delegation made up of religious leaders, Sunni, Shia, and Druze from southern Lebanon, who came to tell His Beatitude, look, we can't speak. The religious heads cannot speak. The reason why they cannot speak, within brackets, is that they are paid by the government. They are, appointed by the Prime Minister, and they are paid by the government, so they have to follow. So we come to you to tell you that we are with you, we follow your sermon, and we are very much behind you in your thinking on the neutrality of Lebanon.
Your Beatitude, thank you very much for your presence this morning. Archbishop Paul, for your help. Thank you. Cardinal Dolan, would you like to offer some concluding words?
Well, a concluding word, Tom, would be gratitude to you, because the tenor of your last question in reminding us that Cardinal Rai has a towering spiritual and moral presence in Lebanon and indeed in the world. He would be the first to remind us that that's the greatest service he can provide to his country. We've seen it firsthand, haven't we, Tom, in our visits to Lebanon, the deep faith of the people, your Beatitude. We remember how Our Lady of Lebanon towers over the tortured city of Beirut. We remember the devotion and the prayer at the shrine of Saint Charbel. We remember the poetry and the richness of your ancient liturgy. And it's that faith that has sustained the people of Lebanon. It's that faith that you nourish today as a shepherd, as a pastor, first and foremost. From that spiritual and moral credibility flows the cultural and political wisdom that you can bring to your beloved country. And we have benefited from this hour with you, Beatitude. It's only enhanced our love, our support, and our prayerful solidarity. And we can never forget Lebanon. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Eminence. Thank you, Your Eminence.
And thank you all. Thank you all very much. And again, I want to thank His Beatitude, but also Archbishop Paul Sayah, the Maronite Archbishop of Haifa and the Holy Land. Translating is a very difficult job. Thank you. That's beautiful. Thank you, Cardinal Dolan, Archbishop of New York, but also above all, he's president of the board of CNEWA, the Catholic Near East Welfare Association. CNEWA.org. Go there now, make a donation to help Lebanon. I was most struck by, again, that last question about the role of the church there, the role of the patriarch, but also their church entities deliver aid directly to the people. No corruption, no middleman, and they deliver it. They are the only agencies that help everyone in Lebanon, not just their own flock. I can't endorse that enough. I want to thank, just in wrapping up, I want to thank Tom Gallagher, Religion Media Company, the instigator of this event, Salt and Light Media, which is also our media partner helping to stream this. I'm David Gibson at the Center on Religion and Culture at Fordham University. We will be posting this conversation within a day on our YouTube channel. So again, just to repeat the Patriarch's words, do not forget Lebanon. Thank you all for being here. Have a great day.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Your Eminence. Hello.